Hello everyone and welcome back to the Final Chicane with me, Cristinboylan. Hey guys, surprise episode. Summer break is not even over yet and I'm back. That's how much I missed you guys. Summer break is over though next week, so really I should have just given myself another week off the podcast, but I did actually miss it, which I was surprised about because it's a lot of work sometimes, but that just shows this is what I'm meant to be doing. I think I went through a bit of a crisis because I was applying for this job that I very much wanted. It would have been like my dream job. And then in my head, in the time that I was thinking between like interviewing for it and after, I was thinking of all the things being like, well, you know, I work on weekends as well. It would be quite busy if I worked on weekends with that job. I might have to stop the podcast. And during that time, I realized how much I'd actually miss doing the podcast if I did have to stop it. And that job would have been like amazing, so I probably would have had to cut down on the podcast a little, but lucky for yous I didn't get the job, so you're stuck with me some more. But yeah, it did strengthen my dedication and made me reflect on the podcast. And you know, I put a lot of effort into Formula 1 and sports related content, and it just I reaffirmed, if that's a word, my love for it, and that this is what I want to do, even though like the job I was going for was sort of similar to this sort of stuff, but it's okay. We move on. Wasn't meant to be. Today's episode is going to be a short one, I think, unless I blabber on for the same amount of time as usual, but we're going to be doing F1 hot takes, F1 unpopular opinions sort of episode. So I asked on Insta and TikTok for your unpopular Formula 1 opinions, and now I'm going to read them out and just basically say if I agree or disagree with them. I think I'll do one now, and then I think I might do one at the end of the season as well. So these aren't just about this season, the unpopular opinions. They are about any season, any driver, anything, basically any unpopular opinions of anything related to Formula 1 at all. But first, we're going to do our Final Chicane brain game, and it is Riddle of the Week. So here it is, see if you can guess who this is. I raced through F1 crowded days with teams that struggled, fleeting stays. From Ensign's flight to Lotus's call, I chased the points but found them small. Later I crossed the ocean wide, where speed and danger still collide. A crash once threatened to end it all, yet I returned to stand tall. Born in Dublin, still telling the tale, who am I beneath the racing veil? Do you want me to let you in on a little secret? The answer to this riddle is gonna be a guest on the podcast in the next month or so, depending on when I get it released. So who is it? I haven't done an interview in quite a while, but I actually might have a few lined up. I'm definitely getting back more into the interviews, and some may not exactly be completely related to Formula 1, but are still quite impressive sports people. So yeah, we might have some of them coming up soon, which I'm really excited for. Once I didn't get that job, I was like, head down, I'm getting these interviews done. I emailed so many people's agents, whatever, basically like everyone that I wanted to interview. I was like, you know what, if they say no, they say no, but I'm just going to email them anyway. And a few people have gotten back to me with hopeful remarks. But yeah, that one is, I would say, going to be my most recent, my nearest interview. It's not done yet, but a date is set. So yes, I am very, very excited to talk to that person. So who is it? Guess. Now, shall we go on to the unpopular Formula 1 opinions? Let's start with the ones that I got left on Instagram. Okay, unpopular opinion number 1 from Fun O News and Glam. Fun, something like that, I don't know. Gasly is world champion material. Do we agree or do we disagree? Right now, I'm going to disagree with that. I think he could be, We definitely haven't seen it yet. If he is a great driver and he has definitely proved himself, but obviously he hasn't been in a car that he can prove himself to be world champion material. I don't think it's hard as well because the Alpine teammates, Gasly's teammates in Alpine, have been changed and have been struggling. I know Franco was struggling a little. Obviously Jack struggled. We saw Gasly in Red Bull. It didn't work out for him there. Obviously, he was in AlphaTauri and he stayed there for quite a while. He was doing quite well there. World champion material, though, is... I will just say no for now because I don't think he could be, and he could prove himself to be that. But I think he would have to be doing more remarkably in the Alpine, which, although he is proving himself to be the number one driver at Alpine, hasn't really proven himself to me that he absolutely needs to be at one of the top teams. So for that, I would say disagree. And it is definitely an unpopular opinion, though. I haven't heard anyone really say that before. For now, disagree. Could change. Would love for it to change. Gasly in a top car would be very good. The Red Bull wasn't a top car when Gasly was in it, so we haven't seen him anywhere near that, to be honest. But yeah, to be decided. For now, no. Next, unpopular opinion. Nhira. I don't know how to say any of these usernames, guys. F1 has gotten too mainstream. F that. Scrap street races, bring back proper circuits and V10s. Okay. A few parts to unpack from this. F1 has gotten too mainstream. I will disagree with. I mean, F1 as an organisation themselves would disagree with that because every sport wants to try and get as mainstream as they can. Usually the comments about F1 being too mainstream comes with a lot of like sexism remarks. So it's automatically in my brain to be like, no. I get that F1 becoming as mainstream as it has caused problems, and it has brought in a few people that I would rather not be in, like be a fan of Formula One and be commented on stuff because of the negativity and the constant criticism and everything like that. And I know it's hard on the drivers too, and the drivers definitely get a lot less privacy. I don't think scrapping street races, bringing back proper circuits and V10s are gonna decrease the mainstreamness of it all. I think I'm fine at the place that Formula One is in right now. If every race was like Las Vegas or Miami, if every race was like Las Vegas or Miami, being the big spectacle that is put on there, like that would be a tough watch and it would feel like it's taken away from the sport. But since it's only like every now and again, like I know the different circuits now do sort of stuff like that, but I don't think it's too far. I don't think it's too much right now. I think Las Vegas, like you can tell that the drivers just hate everything that goes on with Las Vegas, but that's sort of like why I love it, because you can just tell that they hate it. And it is for the spectacle. Like those races would be more of a show, but I enjoy that every now and again, you know, seeing F1 in like an entertainment sort of non-F1 sort of light, if that makes sense. That didn't really make sense. Street races do tend to be more boring. You know that I agree with that. I wouldn't scrap all of them. I definitely wouldn't be adding any more on. Isn't Madrid supposed to be... I think Madrid is like half and half, which would actually be pretty cool. That could be the way going forward. Like some of it is on a street race for the visuals and the vibes. You can't overtake, and you know, the sharp corners and everything like that on a street race I love. It's obviously just the overtaking with the big cars now that is an issue, and that makes some of the street races more boring. I would agree with the reduction to street races for sure, and I completely understand where that opinion comes from. Proper circuits, like what proper circuits are we talking about bringing back here? Nürburgring? I'm fine with the circuits that we have now. I think it's a shame to see that some of them might be leaving the track. Isn't Zandvoort going actually? I know that's on next week. Zandvoort is being put on rotation, is it? I would maybe put the street races more as one on rotation. Like Monaco, okay? I love the Monaco Grand Prix, but more often than not, it's one of the more boring Grand Prix of the year. Not much tends to happen. But I would never want to take Monaco off of the calendar. But you know what actually I could do? And I haven't actually thought about this any more than the last 3 seconds. But we should keep Monaco on the calendar, yeah? But not part of the Formula One season. Like a fun race weekend. A fundraiser. A charity race weekend. Something like that. Something so like it's still on, but I don't know. It was good last year. I think Monaco is one that I just always have something on. So I'm always watching it like sort of in a rush, or else I've cancelled plans to literally watch it because I have FOMO of missing Formula One races. And then I'm always like left like, why have I cancelled plans for this? I don't know why I've turned this whole thing to Monaco, because there's a few other that we could be talking about there. I like Baku. I do like Baku. I'm a fan of Baku, I will say that. So, I mean, V10's is sort of a given. I wouldn't say that's too unpopular. So yeah, a bit of agreement, a bit of disagreement there. You know, F1 is going to continue to keep growing, and there's nothing really that you can do to stop it. So I think we just need to get on the train and let people support it. Like, once you just let people have their opinions and just ignore it, because trust me, I know that there's some opinions out there that you like, that I just want to throw my phone away when I see. You just have to understand that some people just have awful opinions, and they're entitled to those opinions even if they may be awful. Monoplaza. Next one, Monoplaza_F1. Carlos Sainz will never surpass Albon at Williams. A few points on this. Okay, Carlos is his first year at Williams. Just as a reminder, he went from the Ferrari, which was a fast, unreliable car, to a slower, unreliable car in the Williams. It is only his first half of the season in the Williams, and he's doing a fine job. He's not driving better than Albon. Albon has been in that car a lot longer than Carlos has. I would never say never. I think Albon just does a really great job in the Williams, that maybe he is making Carlos look a bit worse than he is as Carlos continues to get used to this car. But yeah, I think that would be a little harsh on Carlos. I think he will... I mean, there has been times, in my opinion, that Carlos and Alex have been like on par with each other. So I don't really see Albon in Williams that much longer. I think that he'll want to be moving up soon, so maybe... And Carlos, actually, I don't really see Carlos in Williams that much longer either. I think he'll be wanting to move on as well. But... so maybe we will never see Sainz. Maybe they will just move on next year. I don't know. But no, I think that's a little harsh on Carlos. Albon is definitely the number one driver at Williams right now, in my opinion. But I would just say for that, would never say never, because Carlos can come out with bangers, and he did a really good job in Ferrari. Like, he was out driving Charles quite frequently in Ferrari last year. So yes, that would be my opinion on that one. Next one, Jay-Z's. Lance Stroll's personality isn't bad. He's extremely shy, and the hate online doesn't help. Right. Lance gets a lot of unwarranted hate because of the whole nepotism thing, because his dad is Lance Stroll. I don't completely see all of that as fair, because Lance has proven that he is a good driver. Maybe he's kept onto the seat longer than someone else would have if they weren't Lawrence Stroll's son. I think he's talented enough to be on the Formula 1 grid. He does get a lot of hate for that. I have seen, there is quite a few videos of Lance where he actually just seems like a really funny, really nice guy to be around, and his personality isn't shown. Yeah, his personality definitely isn't shown as much as the other drivers may be shown. I do think a lot of that is up to him. He is just shy, as you said. On Lance, and I'm not going to get political in the podcast, because then I need to like tick all those boxes when I'm uploading it. But I think I won't speak too much more on Lance. I was a little disappointed to find out where he apparently spent his summer break in the midst of what's going on in the world. So I'm going to limit my conversation about him for now and move past him. And I'll just go on to the next one. And yeah, I'll just go on to the next one. Next one, Anthony, loyalty listener. I don't want a new car every 5 years. It's true. It's fair enough. The cars have been changing a lot, and with that, the regulations are changing. There's just so much to keep up with that it's hard. Like, you're just getting used to a car. And sometimes I feel like the drivers are just getting closer together and competitive, and the drivers are feeling the car and finally like driving it to the best that they can, and then all of a sudden the car is changing and the rules are changing and everything is changing and it's a mess. It's too much. I think we can calm down and just like find a solution, you know? Changing maybe little things, but the cars have basically changed twice in the last few years, honestly, in the last 4 years. So yeah, I think we can calm down on that front. So I will agree with, I also don't really feel the need for a new car every 5 years. They're just trying to make Formula 1 different, and nothing is really working all that much. Next one. Esteban Dockhard. Pit lane should close during safety car until the cars are bunched up. This one I disagree with. So it is like this in Formula 2. But I love when, you know, there's like a driver who shouldn't be near the front, who's at the front because they didn't pit and everyone else behind them has pitted. And then all of a sudden a safety car comes out, so they get the free pit and then they just stay near the front. That's my favourite part of any race, when that happens. So that wouldn't happen if they weren't allowed to pit during a safety car. Like, I just love that when you're just staring at your driver knowing that he's about to pit and all of a sudden yellow flag, safety car. And you know, we could be in a chance with high points. We could be in a chance with a podium. So I would like to keep that. It bothers me a bit watching Formula 2 when the pit lane closes. I'm sure there are other points in favour of that, but I don't know them. So I'm going to disagree and say no. Pit lane stays open during safety car so that my driver, who's always at the back of the field, can pit and win, basically. We'll do one more from Instagram, Jura_Kovac. If Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen or George Russell were in that McLaren instead of Oscar, they would beat Lando easily. In my opinion, Lando Norris is overhype. Disagree. First of all, I think that's actually a little harsh on Oscar as well. Let me go through this. Okay, if Charles, Max and George were in that McLaren instead of Oscar, they would beat Lando easily. I don't think any of them would be doing a way better job than Oscar is doing in that McLaren. I think both Lando and Oscar most weekends are driving that McLaren to its extent, driving it as well as they can. They make some mistakes sometimes. Lando, you know, the times that Oscar's bet Lando, usually it's because Lando's made some sort of mistake in qualifying or a mistake at the start of the race. I know Lando doesn't always have the best starts. So, no. We also have, we've seen Charles in Alfa Romeo, and then Ferrari. We haven't seen Max in anything else, basically. So how they would do in the McLaren, like Max might do a Daniel and just might not be able to drive any other car other than the Red Bull. We don't know that yet because we haven't seen it, and I really want to figure that out. Like, I would just love to know if Max can drive every car in the grid as well as he can drive the Red Bull. Same with Charles. George, you know, he just Williams and Mercedes, similar enough cars, but here's my hot take. Out of those three, Charles, Max and George, this is actually a hot take, I think George would do the best in the McLaren. Like you just based on one day, I think George would be the best to adapt to the McLaren and drive that. So do I think Charles, Max and George are better than Lando? No, I would put Lando up with them. I think Charles would probably be a better qualifier maybe in the McLaren after he gets used to it than Lando. But Lando and George I'd put very similar. Like Lando, George and Oscar. All of them, though, I would put quite similar. Maybe, Max a bit above the rest. He's world champion, and he does have this fearless sort of edge to him when it comes to driving. On another note, actually, put Max instead of Oscar in that McLaren, and Lando and Max aren't finishing a single race. They would take each other out every single race, every single session, every single qualifying. So, do I think Lando is overhyped? I think maybe there was a period when Lando was like slightly overhyped, but now he gets a lot of hates, and everything he does wrong, like, he's immediately such a bad driver apparently. So I wouldn't say he's currently overhyped. I don't think any of those five, Charles, Max, George, Oscar, and Lando, are overhyped. Hot take. Let's go to TikTok. Right, we've got a few more hot takes, unpopular opinions to discuss on TikTok. Who's ready? One of them is just wondering if you ever saw the documentary on the legendary Irish driver Tommy Byrne. It's called Crash and Burn. Crash and Burn. Burn better be spelt B-Y or N-E in that, if that's the name, Crash and Burn, or else I'm not watching it. But I haven't watched that, but that is something that I should give a go. Tommy Byrne. That is something that I will take a look at. Sounds good though. It's something I'll take a look at. Okay. Unpopular opinion. Max fans are insane. They hate every other driver just because Max is better. Brackets, not every Max fan. That's what Robin says. Okay. If I was going to say that about one driver's fans, it wouldn't be Max. I'll just say that. I think Max fans are probably a bit more sane than some other drivers because, like, especially when Max was winning, I feel like they just sort of, like, some of them are little rats, I'm sure. And Lewis got a whole lot of hate back then. But there's always, like, little rats in every fandom. But on a whole, personally, Max fans aren't usually the ones that I would see bringing the hate on and spreading that to an extreme amount. And I think being invested, like, in a fandom where, I guess, the Lando fandom or the Charles fandom, like, really invested in that on Twitter and stuff, you'd see a lot more hate maybe coming from Max fans than I would on a general, like, Formula 1 basis. So I can't really speak on that, but on a general Formula 1 basis, there is a lot more fans that I would be scared to annoy, we'll say, than Max fans. Some fans do just seem, I've spoken about that before on here. But yes, not every fan of every driver, but yeah, if I was going to call some fans insane, it wouldn't be Max's. Some Max fans for sure, but on a whole, I will disagree with that. Scenic style, next one, scenic style. George Russell is far better than Charles Leclerc. Brackets, please spare me. No, I wouldn't say far better. I would rate George and Charles quite equally though. I definitely wouldn't say George is far better. I think George is probably one of the most underrated drivers on the grid, especially this season. He's had a great season. He's had some really great moments that I feel like if it was another driver, he would have got a lot more attention, a lot more praise for. I think Charles has made his own mistakes, but also the Ferrari is a lot more unreliable than the Mercedes. But also Charles' teammates with Lewis Hamilton and George's teammates with the rookie Kimi Antonelli, even though very promising rookie, I should add. So I will disagree with that one too, but I wouldn't say Charles is far better than George either. I would just say, next one, Dexter Racing. Unpopular opinion is that there should be a lot less street circuits. The cars are far too big for these circuits, either smaller cars or stick with proper circuits. Again with the circuits, I mean, I agree with that. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion though, to be honest. I think most people in Formula 1 probably think that. It's sort of what I said, we don't need no street circuits, but less street circuits I will get on board with. The cars are too big. Overtaking is just impossible on some of these circuits. I don't know if we're going to get smaller Formula 1 cars anytime soon than the 2026, but One thing that maybe an unpopular opinion is that I'm okay with rotational circuits. Like I think that's sort of fun one year to, for the schedule to change every now and again, but not to just get rid of tracks. I think the tracks that we're like getting rid of, we should just have them on rotation. I think we could do it with the Germany track, Ireland, Portugal, Africa. None in Africa right now. There's many other places. South America. There's many other places. Nicole, I find F1 boring now that I've discovered IndyCar. There are more overtakes and bar this year, which is an anomaly with Paolo being superhuman. I love that anyone on the grid could realistically win the race. That's an interesting one. I am not a full-time IndyCar watcher, so that's not something that I can comment on 100% completely. I'm guessing Paolo. I haven't really watched IndyCar this year yet, unfortunately. It's a lot trying to stick with all of these Formula One stuff, but I'm not gonna fight on the more overtakes one. I don't know, but I believe you. I believe that there are more overtakes. Probably wouldn't be hard because overtaking is not one of Formula One's strong suits right now. I love that anyone on the grid could realistically win the race. I don't think we necessarily need that in Formula One. I think we need, like 6 people maybe could win the race. But I just love when someone who's not... I'm fine with the fact that, there's better cars than others and you're all trying to work to get onto a better team, stuff like that, or like when a not so good team improves and all of a sudden they're like near the top of that. I sort of like that thing about Formula One. I like the fact that this driver is always expected to become like in the last 5. Then one race they're finishing like 8th and it's such a special moment and it's really good. Like that's something that I like about Formula One. It would be, it would be very different if all 22 drivers next year could have a chance of winning. But that just doesn't seem like something that's going to happen in Formula One. And honestly, I'm okay with that. If IndyCar's like that, then, it's 2 different sports. It's just making the motorsport series more different. Formula One has their way of doing stuff. IndyCar have their way of doing stuff. And you can watch both, And I think I'm fine with that. I'm open to hear other people's opinions on that, though. Right, my dad gave 2 unpopular opinions. It's too boring right now. There are too much technology in the cars, like launch control. Bring back the stick shift and refueling. I'll let you decide on that one. Refueling was taken away because it was too dangerous, right? I mean, I don't particularly miss refueling. That's not something I've ever really thought about, to be honest. I mean, if you're in a generation where you grew up watching Formula One a certain way, then it might be natural for you to sort of miss the way that things were. But I think you got to sort of take that out of it and just think. On the other hand, I think there are a few problems. I think there are a few problems in Formula One, and I wouldn't put those high on the list. And last one, greatest driver of all time, again from my father. I would suggest Fangio, Senna and Schumacher. So he's saying unpopular opinion, Fangio, Senna and Schumacher are the best drivers of all time. This one is always hard because, first of all 3 of them are from different eras. And every time someone's like, oh, well, who do you think is better, Schumacher or Senna or whatever, I'm like, it's so hard to say because they were the best of their eras, but who would win in a race now? Like, who knows? Because they're all driving different cars. They're all driving different people and tracks and different regulations. Fangio was the first world champion. He was 1950. Then we're moving to Senna, who was 1982, 83, somewhere around that sort of era. And then Schumacher, who's in the 2000s. So very different eras. Fangio is one of my all-time favourites. And he is definitely one of the all-time greats. But I think if I was just to rate... Okay, I think I would put Senna first. Schumacher second. Lewis, Fangio, sort of around that order. I would put Fangio in the top 4, I think. I don't know about putting Fangio first, though, but it was just such a different era. Like, what did Fangio win? 1950? and then the end of the 1950s as well. Well, Fangio won 1950 and then mid to end 1950s, I think. That's like one question I can never answer when people are like, oh, who do you think's better, Lewis or Schumacher? Like, I've no idea. They haven't raced against each other. And you know what? It's also difficult because since Lewis is currently in Formula 1, a lot of people would be judging him by how he's doing now as well. Like, I think a lot of people would have more easily said that Lewis is like one of the greatest drivers of all time back during his last championship win, 2020, 2019 sort of era. But also how he's doing now doesn't exactly change how he did back then. Whereas people looking back on the careers of Senna and Fangio and Schumacher, and I know it doesn't apply to all of them, but the bad is sort of not looked at when you're looking back at the talent of the drivers, you know? Like in a few years, like in quite a few years from now, people looking back at Lewis, more than likely, and I can't read the future, but hopefully, anyway, I hope, they'd be looking back at, you know, his 7 world championships. So it is hard. There's just a lot of bias involved and it's a hard one to say, but I am interested to know what everyone else thinks. I think that's all we'll do. Now, there were some unpopular hot takes on Formula 1 for you. We have F1 Academy. Do we have F2 returning next week? Is F2 racing in Zandvoort? Oh, Budapest is next. Okay, so they're not okay. Sorry, because like F1 Academy, F2 and F1 would be a lot for one weekend for me. But yeah, we'll be back with that in the next couple of weeks, hopefully praying that everything goes well with that interview, goes ahead and everything. I'll have that interview for you guys and hopefully a few other coming before the end of the year. Also, let me know if there's anyone that you think I should interview. It doesn't matter how like big or small they are. They don't have to be famous. They could just work in Formula 1. Stuff like that. Like I've already interviewed, you know, Red Bull employees. So I think getting those sort of insights will always be interesting. And that's what I try to do. Will we go back to the riddle and you can find out who I'm interviewing? And do you know who I'm interviewing? His name begins with D. Double D. So I am hopefully interviewing Derek Daly, if it all goes well. But honestly, I've had like this recent stream of saying things out loud and then they just don't happen, actually. So maybe I shouldn't have told you that. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk to him. Let me know if you have any questions that you want me to ask or anything like that, and I'd be happy to oblige. I have a giveaway going on. If you missed it, I'm giving away 3 cans of Lando Norris's Monster, some stickers and keyring to quite a few people. So if you want to enter that, all you have to do is subscribe and just find the short where I posted that and just comment. That's all you have to do. You can enter on Instagram and TikTok as well. It's only open in Europe because I can't afford to send any out to like Australia or America. But if you want to pay for shipping, I'll give you the can for free. I'm just like a bankrupt graduate right now. And yeah, that's it for this week. So we've only one more week to go until Formula 1 is back. My cooking challenge for Zandvoort will continue next week. We're on to the second half of the season, so I'll see you then. Bye.